you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we are reviewing the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. Alright you guys, so I did take a recent trip to Sephora, and I know I'm totally late on the game with this palette, the Naked Heat palette. I've had my eye on it since the release. I'm such a huge fan of the Urban Decay Naked palettes. I have 1, 2, and 3, which I would show you right now, but I'm in the midst of moving and it's all packed up. Yeah, I tried packing up makeup that I don't use on a daily basis, so let's see if I left enough for me to survive about a month without all of my makeup. It's gonna be so hard. But anyways, I decided to pick this up at Sephora. I used my VIB discount for some money off on this palette. So this is what the packaging looks like. It's like a cardboard box where it slides out. It's sitting in another cardboard box. And then it's kind of cool how they have like the matchsticks. I thought that was kind of clever. And then this, of course, is what the component looks like. It's pretty similar packaging to the other palettes. The magnet isn't as intense. Like the other palettes, I believe they actually have indents for the case to actually securely close. To be honest, this packaging does feel like lighter and it feels more flimsy and almost more cheap than the other Naked palettes, but I'm excited to test these colors out. Of course, you do get a decent mirror, the 12 shadows, and then with all the other Naked palettes, you do get a brush. So this is like the typical double-ended brush that they've been featuring in most of their Naked palettes as of late. It's kind of cool because on the brush it actually says Naked Heat, so you know it goes with the palette. So one thing that I want to point out really quickly is the progression of the Naked palettes. Again, I wish I had them out to show you, but in the first two, it's mostly shimmer shades because several years ago, matte eyeshadows really weren't popular. They really weren't around that much. So I'm really happy that Urban Decay is moving along with the times and it's mostly matte shadows in this palette. Here is a close-up of the palette. It looks like there's about 4 shimmer shades and the rest are all mattes. And this is an amber hued palette. Normally I'm not a fan of warm shades, so I'm kind of like surprised with myself that I had interest in this. And then I also just feel like I kind of had to buy it because I have the other Naked palettes. So I'm like really excited to use this, come up with some looks. And today I'm going to do some swatches for you guys. And then I'm also going to show you a quick tutorial using this palette. So make sure you stay tuned until the end. So for swatches on my channel, I do it a bit different. I don't feel like you get a lot from arm swatches, but I do feel like we can tell a lot about shadows from eye swatches. So what I do is I take each shadow, I put it on my lid, and then I blend it out so you guys can see the quality of the shadow and how it works, because I mean, let's be honest, that's the whole point of the palette. In case you guys were wondering, this does retail for $54. So it's $2 more. I believe the other Naked palettes are $52. But yeah, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and get into this. I do have my eyes, I guess you could say, primed. I just have my concealer and I set it with the powder. So that is what I'm going to use in between each swatch. Ounce is an ivory shimmer. Chaser is a light nude matte. Sauced is a soft terracotta matte. Low Blow is a brown matte. Lumbre is a copper shimmer with gold pearl shift. He Double is a burnt red matte. Dirty Talk is a metallic burnt red. Scorched is a deep red metallic with gold micro shimmer. Cayenne is a deep terracotta matte. And Fuego is a burgundy matte. All right, so here are the swatches of all of the shadows. It was interesting because like 90% of the mattes felt like super buttery, except for in Fuego. It had like an odd texture to it when I went to go and swatch it. I did think that they swatched decently. I do feel like the lighter matte shades, most of the pigment was right where I pressed my finger down and it didn't really blend down. But like I said, it doesn't really matter how they swatched because it doesn't really give you a sign on how the product is gonna actually perform on our eyes, which is what we bought it for. And then I do wanna say something with the shimmers I forgot to mention before. Shimmers, 99% of the time, apply best with your finger. So if you guys wanted to apply the shimmers by wetting your brush and adding it to your lid, you could do that, or just by using your finger. It's up to you and personal preference. Just know that you're probably gonna get the best color payoff using your own finger. All right, so before we get started into this tutorial, I just wanna tell you guys my brushes are clean, dirty. They're stained from other palettes because I haven't deep cleaned them, but they're clean in the sense where if I were to use this, it's not going to get that color that's stained on there onto my skin. So clean, dirty. Now let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. And then for my lips, I made a bold choice and just went with a nude lip. I just used a nude liner and then I used my Dose of Colors No Shade, the Desi and Katie collection. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Chaser, which is the lightest matte shade in this palette. I'm probably gonna take this and work my way up to Sauced, and then probably even Low Blow. I'm gonna work on putting these three into the crease and see how they work out as transition shades. And then another quick side note, Lumbre, this first shimmer, it's a messy shadow with the way that it's packed. It was messy when I applied it with the brush and then with my finger, and then also just doing the swatches now, there was quite a bit of fallout with that shadow. For me, Chaser is almost like the same as my skin color, like you can barely see it there. So I'm just gonna bring this pretty high up onto the brow bone, and then I'm probably gonna end up bringing these pretty far into my inner corner. And then I will say, using this with an actual brush, there is a little bit more fallout. So using the same brush, which by the way is a Morphe M433, I'm just gonna go into Sauce, which is that next color. And then I could see the pigment holding onto the brush, and instead of like knocking most of it off, if you just lightly pat it in and then blend it, you shouldn't have to worry about too much fallout. Just creating an outer V shape with my shadow, which I think I do in every tutorial. So one thing that I like to keep on hand when I'm doing my makeup is just a bigger, clean, fluffy brush, and I'm just simply going to use this just to make sure everything is blended together. I'm not actually gonna pick up any shadow with this brush. I'm gonna build this up a teensy bit more and use Low Blow. It'd be good and tap up my brush here. So you guys can see how much darker Low Blow is compared to Sauced. The color is so pretty. This is my kind of crease and transition shade, like an everyday good matte brown. Does anybody else have like a favorite eye when doing makeup? Like I always feel like my left eye applies shadow the best and blends the most. I feel like my right side is always like a hot mess. I don't know what's going on with it. But anyways, moving along, I'm now gonna switch over to a Real Techniques 203 blending brush. These are like my favorite blending brushes, so soft and it blends everything flawlessly. I'm going to dip into Cayenne, and then I'm gonna go into He Devil. So here is Cayenne, and then here is He Devil. So these two. So now I'm gonna go back to my Morphe brush and I'm gonna pick up the He Devil color and just work on adding some more intense red to this look. Alright you guys, so now I'm gonna add some Enfuego into the mix, and then I'm gonna do a tiny bit of ashes in the outer corner. So I'm gonna take Enfuego, which is like this maroon matte, and I'm gonna put it halfway into my crease, and then like I said, I'm gonna take ashes, which is this matte dark purple color, and I'm gonna put that into the outer corner. So I am going to go back with my Real Techniques brush for the Fuego color. And that is what I was looking for. Yes. That is such a beautiful color. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting it to glide on so easy with like how different the texture of the shadow felt compared to the other mattes. I actually like how this one is applying best so far out of all the shadows. So before I go into ashes, I'm going to take a different clean Real Techniques 203 brush, and I'm going to go in with Sauced, which is the second lightest matte color. And I'm just gonna kind of blend everything over because I feel like it's getting like pretty dark. So I'm gonna try to go back in and lighten things up. Actually, I'm gonna go in with Chaser 2, which is the lightest matte shade, that second shade in the palette. And just see if I can kind of fix some of this darkness that's going on. All right, so now this is a Lerma, I think 201 brush, but I do like the shape of this. It's kind of more oval than it is round. I did get this in an Ipsy bag a couple months back, and this is what I'm going to use to apply ashes. I think that it's great for getting into the inner corner because it just kind of like, for my eye shape, like it literally just fits right into that crease, which is exactly where I want to focus this color. And then I'm gonna focus it close to the, closer to my lid, then blending it out. And then I'm also going to place it on the outer third of my lid. All right, so let's get into some of the shimmer. So I'm just gonna go in with Lumbre and Scorched, I think. I'm gonna take Lumbre on the inner corner, and then Scorched is down here, so I'm gonna put this in the middle. And I'm gonna use my fingers to apply. By the way, if you have issues with getting into your very inner corner, like looking the opposite direction, like really lets you get in there. And then now Scorched. Which is beautiful, but it's very flaky. Like even with applying it with my finger. Normally with shimmers, when you apply with your finger, it actually sticks. But with this color, it's just very like flaky, I think with the pigment that's in it. So I'm still getting fallout even using my finger. Okay, so for the lower lash line, I'm going to take a Morphe M432. This is a flat brush. I'm gonna go with that Ember color, and then I'm just gonna press this into my lower lash line. And now with a Morphe E36, this is like the perfect little blending brush for your lower lash line. I'm going to go in with a mix of He Devil and Fuego. So these two, and I might add a little bit of ashes as well. I'm actually getting like rather annoyed with the amount of fallout in this palette at this point. I'm like over it. I also took Ounce, which is the lightest highlight shade, put it in my inner corner, and now I'm gonna go ahead and pop on some mascara and finish up this review. All right, so here is the finished look. I looked at the palette and I used every single color except for Dirty Talk. So that's one thing that I do like about the Naked palettes, is that you can pretty much use all colors in one look if you really wanted to, without it being like too much. I definitely wasn't planning on going as smoky as I did with this palette. And to be honest, this look probably deserves false lashes, but it's like 10:30 at night, so I'm just washing this off, so I didn't want to go through the trouble of that. But my final thoughts on this palette Is it going to be my new favorite palette? Is it something I'm going to be reaching for on a daily basis? I don't know. Like, ever since I got the Jaclyn Hill palette, which is with Morphe, honestly, that is a palette that I use on a day-to-day basis. And even with the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, as gorgeous as this is, I'm still like sitting there comparing these shadows to the Jaclyn Hill palette, and like the lighter matte shades that are in this Naked palette, I'm like, these are okay, but I know shadows in this Morphe palette with Jaclyn Hill that are gonna blend better and work better and not have as much fallout as what's in here. And just so you guys can see, even though I'm sure you're familiar, in case you aren't, this is what the Jaclyn Hill palette looks like. So there's lots of nudes, and then there's a lot of warmer tones and a lot of red shadows that are in here. However, those are unique on its own, and just like I think that the shadows that are in the Naked Heat palette are unique on their own, like obviously I would say these first 4 shadows aren't anything super unique, but as a palette, for it to be collective as a whole, it makes sense that they're there. I just don't think that there's anything special about them. However, I do like the rest of the shades. I can sit here and say that I don't really have a palette that has similar enough shades as this one, but I will say I was getting rather annoyed with the amount of fallout when I was using the shadows. In conclusion, I do like the palette. I do think it's fun and interesting, and I think it definitely kicked off all like the warm tone palettes, I think. I know a lot of people thought that this palette was a flop, but for me, I do like it and I do enjoy it. I do think I'm gonna get good use out of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if it was a bit of a longer one. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. I've been putting out a ton of reviews lately, so if you're interested, check those out. I've been reviewing other foundations, other eyeshadow palettes, and I'm also trying to get some tutorials out, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on those. All my other social media is listed down below. Let me know what you guys think about this palette. If you have it, I would love to hear from you guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.